Welcome back, everyone, to OpenLine. Talking with our chief investigative reporter, Phil Williams, who is here talking about the series of reports he's done about money up on Capitol Hill. And there's so much to get into with all of these reports. If you go online and look at Phil's stories, he has extra information, extra documentation. One of the things you put in there are some of the big spenders.
Right.
And I would love for you to go over some of those numbers. I mean, who are some of the big spenders? How much are they spending?
And just a bit of explanation. First of all, they do not report the exact amount that they spend. They report ranges. So they may report, this 6 months we spent between $50,000 and $100,000, or $100,000 to $150,000. So to come up with an estimate, I chose the midpoint of each of those ranges. And so these are estimates. But over the last 5 years, Tennessee Hospital Association, my estimate, just right at $2.8 million. Number two behind them was the Tennessee Road Builders Association, $2.6 million, and a lot of that money was a few years back during the end of the Haslam administration. There was this big push to raise the gas tax to fund road building projects, and so a lot of their money was spent back during that time period. Tennessee Healthcare Association, which is the nursing home industry, $2.3 million. Tennessee Automotive Association, car dealers, $2.1 million. AT&T, almost $2 million. And as one of our callers alluded to earlier, Harpeth Financial Services, $1.8 million. That's Advanced Financial.
That's Advanced Financial. And when you say 2.7, 1.8 million, is that divided among the lawmakers, or what are we talking about? That's not like on president. We're talking about in Tennessee.
Yeah, and these are not campaign contributions. These are the amounts of money they spend to hire lobbyists and on various lobbying activities if it's a grassroots campaign that they're trying to orchestrate. So this is just the amount of money they spend on lobbyists. We have other figures that we're going to get into more later about how much these sorts of groups spend on campaign contributions. And honestly, the amount they spend on campaign contributions is far greater than the amount they report spending on lobbyists. And then right after Harpeth Financial is National Healthcare Corporation, NHC, another nursing home figure, and then the Wine and Spirits Wholesalers of Tennessee, the liquor lobbyists that you saw in those stories. So there's just a ton of money. And right after them, Tennessee Medical Association, doctors. Some
of that, weren't they trying to get Obamacare, and that didn't happen?
Right.
Is that an accurate statement?
It is. I think generally, doctors supported Medicaid expansion.
And that didn't happen. All right, as far as the PACs that got the most, we talked a little bit about this, but it's an interesting sort of thing. And Speaker Sexton is an interesting way to look at it because he's the new Speaker of the House. Contrast what he got when he was just a regular House member and what he gets as Speaker of the House.
Yeah, in 2018, Speaker Sexton's leadership PAC, he calls it CAM PAC, Cameron Sexton, took in about $26,000 in 2018. Mid-year 2019, he became Speaker, and mainly in that last half of 2019, he took in $430,000 for his political action committee. So going from $26,000 to $430,000, it helps to have power.
And what does he do with that money? So he is a state representative. He represents kind of Crossville out there. And what does he do with $430,000?
He uses that to help elect people that he supports and who will support him. That's one of the things that traditionally happens is that when a speaker goes to support a candidate who's running for office, that's done with the hope, with the expectation that that person then will vote to re-elect that person as speaker.
And so to put a finer edge on it, there is an election. The Republicans vote. Well, I guess all members of the House vote for who's going to be Speaker. Republicans are in charge, so it's going to be a Republican Speaker, generally speaking. If a Republican didn't vote for him, then he could go and contribute money to somebody who ran against that person.
Exactly, and that has happened, certainly with other speakers.
What else are you working on with this?
Well, we're committed to following the money, and so we have some stories upcoming next week. They're going to take a look at another issue where we're trying to figure out, who is the money behind this lobbying campaign. And so we're just going to keep digging deeper and trying to help the public understand how money is influencing public policy.
This is a tough question because it's not your purview, but you've been up there a long time. How optimistic are you about things changing? I mean, how concerned are you about where we are, and are you optimistic things are going to get better, or are you concerned they won't get better? Or what about that, your feelings along those lines?
Well, I tend to try to be pretty careful about those kinds of questions. As you well know, it doesn't hurt to ask. But it's not up to me to say the law needs to be changed. All I can do is show the public how the system works. It's up to you, people who are watching, the voters. It's up to you to decide whether you're content with the system the way it works. If you're not, you really ought to pick up the phone and call your lawmaker and say, I don't like this. I really want to see some changes, because lobbyists are certainly not going to advocate to change the system. So it's going to have to come from the constituents. We keep hearing lawmakers say, yeah, the average person, has the same amount of pull with me as a lobbyist. Well, I guess we'll see. I do think that there will be some ethics legislation that is discussed this session. I don't know how deep it's going to go, but I know that there are conversations occurring.
We have about a minute and a half left, and it's fascinating that when that has happened before, it has been after some sort of scandal, after people were literally arrested. That's not happening now, but you think there might be some sort of ethics legislation coming down in this session or the next session?
I know there are people who would like to see some changes made. I don't know if they have the power. The one major piece of ethics legislation out there, and again, just a quick bit of civics lessons, you have bills that have to be filed by a certain date or a certain point in the session, and they have to specify what the legislation deals with. There's only one bill that's out there that's comprehensive enough in its title, its caption, that could carry major pieces of ethics reform, and that bill is controlled by the Speaker of the House and the Lieutenant Governor. So it will be up to them about what gets into that legislation.
Fascinating. Well, it's great to see these stories. It's great to have you on tonight and talking about all of this. It's vitally important. It's the way laws get made in our state. So Phil Williams, thanks for coming on.
Absolutely.
We will take a break, come back, wrap everything up right after this.